Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's Drift Brainwave concert. Tonight we have special musical guest Andrea Cortez. She's going to join us on her harp shortly. But first I just want to go through a few slides with you and get you familiar with what's about to go on. So some best practices in Zoom you might want to follow. Silence your notifications on your phone so you don't get any annoying beeps. Computers are going to give you the best stereo listening quality. Your cell phones are going to give you a slightly less quality experience, and it'll be in mono, but it's still listenable. Headphones or speakers are always recommended. You're going to get the best listening experience that way. Inside of Zoom, you can enable original sound or turn on original sound, and I would suggest doing that as well because there's a lot of weird compression stuff that happens inside of Zoom, and if you turn this on, that stuff will go away and it'll be a much smoother listening experience. If you're on Facebook Live, you don't have to worry about that. Softer volume levels are suggested for relaxation. You want your ears to reach for the volume more than to push too much volume into the ear. It just, in my experience, helps you relax more when you're listening in a meditative fashion. And then a little bit of technical patience. We're juggling several things technically tonight, and we're going to try and make it as smooth as possible. But there are always little quirks to being online, so we'll take those the best we can. You're hearing a rhythm right now. This rhythm lines up with our alpha brainwave rhythm. Our alpha brainwaves line up with 7.5 to 12 pulses per second, and it's when you have a high alpha volume level in your brain, you have this feeling of presence, and that's why it's the feeling of being present is so associated with meditation. You also feel very relaxed. You might have a bit of pain at first when you're starting to meditate. Maybe, like for instance, in my shoulder, I often have a little bit of pain when I start to sit down and quiet my body. But then if I do some breathing techniques and I build up my alpha brainwaves, that feeling starts to subside and the pain goes away and I feel much better. And you'll feel really calm if you have high alpha brainwaves happening. And you'll also be creative, not only in artistic ways, but also physical ways. For instance, athletes, professional athletes at a high level are observed to have really high levels of these alpha brainwaves, much higher than the normal person. And this is what allows them to be so present in the moment during a very engaging, highly televised event where they can still navigate everything they need to physically and perform these amazing feats. And not only just like things like sports, for instance, but even things like archery. I know I've heard people that do archery talk about a technique where right before you let go of the arrow, you exhale. And exhaling is, you start to see in EEG readings that when you're exhaling, that you're having this bump of alpha activity. So you hit the target more often when you practice that technique. So your breath is really, really tied to this brainwave state. And if you start to slow your breath or even hold your breath for a comfortable amount of time, you'll start to see increases in this brainwave state. And before we introduce our guest tonight, I wanted to show our brainwaves from last night's performance. If you watched, my wife Nora was joining us, and we made a little bit of plant music out in the garden with our plant wave, with the plant wave device, and that was really fun. And we were focusing on our theta brainwaves and talking about the plant Tulsi. And so yeah, you can see it's just a really calm looking meditation, and you can see I got a lot of alpha brainwaves in that meditation. I'm still searching for a way to evoke those theta brainwaves. Next week we're going to actually try and have me take some Tulsi before the theta meditation and see if that helps to evoke some of those theta brainwaves, which I'm still struggling to find a technique to evoke. So yeah, I just wanted to share all that with you. And tonight I wanted to say that although it'll be quite obvious what Andrea is doing during the performance, it'll be a little bit more mysterious on my end if you haven't tuned in before. I make music with my brainwaves using a Muse EEG headband and Ableton Live. I'm able to stream all 5 of my brainwaves to my digital audio workstation, where I'm able to give these brainwaves instruments to play. And I usually go into much more depth on that in most of my broadcasts, but when I have a guest on, I have limited time, so I want to spend more time with them. And if you're interested in learning more about it, I offer a workshop to teach you how to do it as well, if you're interested in that kind of approach with making music. And yeah, check it out. It's on our website. But now I want to introduce Andrea. So give me just one moment, and I'm going to kick off this screen share, and we'll open up her dialogue. So just give me 1 second here. Okay, Andrea, I think you're unmuted now.
Okay. Can I turn the video on?
Yeah. There you are.
Yay!
Okay, cool. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you here in the room. I'm only looking at the Zoom. I'm not sure what's going on Facebook Live, but hello, Facebook Live world too. And so, hi, everybody. This is Andrea. Andrea is a music therapist, and she lives in Austin. And I met her through the internet, through Instagram, and we worked out a way to travel to Texas because I have family there, and we said that we'd like to go to Austin, and we booked the space with Andrea, and we collaborated on an evening of music together for some Austin folks, and had such a blast. And so I wanted to open up this platform to more musicians that I know, especially musicians that are helping people with music, and Andrea sprung to mind immediately from our experiences, and I wanted to bring her onto this platform. So hello, Andrea.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. It's great to have you.
Yay.
So let's start off. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and then we can get into playing some music together. Firstly, I wanted to ask, do you have any early life childhood connections with sound?
Yeah, I think the first sound that I was attracted to was the piano. So not just, I guess, I don't know if you're asking about sound in general, but really I guess the piano was the first instrument that really drew my attention. We had a piano, and I was 8 years old when I started to play, and during the years of like 10, 11, and 12, I started writing my own melodies, and actually got an electric keyboard and started playing around with that. So that was like my, I think my obsession actually. I started being obsessed with sound at an early age. So yeah, and I loved my electric keyboard, and so I sat for hours playing with that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think my earliest memory was my grandmother had a push pedal like church organ in her living room, and I remember as a kid one of us would be pushing the pedals and the other one would be exploring the pull knobs and pushing buttons. So yeah, just like those keyboard instruments are such an attraction when you're younger.
Yeah.
And okay, so yeah, I'd also like to ask, at what moment did you start to understand that you were going to be a devoted musician, that this was going to be something that was a part of your day-to-day life?
I think it was actually already happening when I was a kid. I knew when I was young that I wanted to do something with music, and it was very much since I was very introverted as a kid. It was like my refuge. It was my best friend. So that's how I expressed myself, was through writing music. um, learning music and playing instruments. It started with the piano, and then I played the clarinet, and I played the guitar. Um, and actually, when I was in high school, I started writing music and singing and playing the guitar. So that was, uh, I guess it was just always in my life. I think I always felt like I was going to do something with it. Yeah.
That's great. And then what led you to become a music therapist and start to make sound meditation music and music for people to relax with and heal with?
So it goes back, actually, I knew pretty early on that I wanted to do music therapy. When I was 19, I had a roommate who introduced me to a music therapist in Austin, and I started doing volunteer work with her and started um, doing observations. And just, I think what actually convinced me about music therapy was that I went to a session with this music therapist, and she was working with a person with brain injury who had lost his speech. He wasn't able to talk because of his brain injury, but he was able to sing. And I was just amazed that how could someone sing and not be able to speak? So just that in itself was just like convinced me that I wanted to do music therapy. And so I just inquired about where to go to school, and and that was that. And I really wanted to do something actually that was involving some kind of social service and music. And so when I found out about music therapy, I just knew that was for me. So so when I went into school, actually it wasn't focused around wellness or meditation. It was focused around healing the brain, healing from brain injury and from neurologic disorders, um, and rehabilitating speaking, speech, motor skills, walking through music, and through interactive music experiences. So it wasn't until like 2011 that I had, after I had been practicing music therapy, I became interested more in combining my interest in meditation and Eastern traditions and with music. And so that's when I started to sort of branch out in my practice into that area.
Awesome. And throughout all these years of making music to help people in these ways, like, do you have a favorite technique that you like to use when you yourself listen to music in a like sound meditation type of way?
I have found again and again that singing and vocalizing is so powerful for me. So um, I think that for me, that's the most powerful instrument in my personal use. Um, I'll do like just singing on open sounds like vocal toning or chant. Um, it's just so powerful because it's also getting the breath cycles to really, stretch and longer duration, and you can feel the sound so much when you're using your voice and singing. It's just wonderful. So yeah, that's my favorite, I would
Oh,
say.
cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for answering those questions for me, and it was great to hear all of the stories. So I have the headband all hooked up and ready to go, and you're all ready to go on the harp. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and try and start making some music together.
Okay.
And we'll let this roll for about 20 minutes, and at the end of the 20 minutes, the music will start to fade away, and maybe at the end, if you want to stick around, maybe we could do some chat room stuff with people that showed up in the Zoom room, and maybe even Facebook Live if we figure that out. But yeah, let's get going. So, folks, I'm gonna actually sit down, and when I do, you're just gonna see this watercolor behind me. So I'm just gonna be meditating and doing some breathing exercises during the sound meditation, which isn't very exciting to watch anyway. So yeah, please focus your attention on Andrea, and I hope you you enjoyed the music. So just give me one moment. Actually, I have to share my audio, and we'll be ready to go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to turn my mic off so nobody can hear me. beautiful. Wow.
I feel like I traveled far away.
Um, I mean that I just love collaborating with you. I love the way you play your harp, and even just everything down to the little details like your delay. That was one of my favorite collaborations ever. That was great.
Oh, yay! I love it. Well, it's so interesting. I felt like you, when I changed some of the chords, you were responding, like, and changing the key somehow with me. I don't know how.
Yeah, I just know like the last 10 minutes, my brain was like buzzing in the most profound way, and I was just loving every single second of it. Hopefully, everyone else had just as much fun with us.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that
love
was
it.
that was
Thank
great.
you so much.
Thank you.
It's so wonderful how music, it really takes us into a different space. Like it just has that power to do that, and it's amazing how it can do that. It's like taking us to a different space.
You know, I'm interested to talk about you. You know, when I first reached out, I asked you what your favorite key and scale was for playing in, and you hit me back with F Lydian. And so I wanted to ask you about that because, yeah, that's a new one for me to explore. I've been kind of in my own little pocket for a while of what I am used to, and I have to say that was really enjoyable, and I'll probably explore that more. But tell me about your relationship with that key and scale.
So I love this Lydium because, well, one of the reasons is I'm taking lessons right now with a classical Hindustani teacher, uh, Ghulam Farid Nizami, um, and he is 17th generation Sufi actually. So his family goes back far into playing music actually for healing. They used it for healing, and he told me that this scale, which is called Rag Yaman. So actually, Rag is a scale like in Western music. We can kind of simplify that way, but it's the same as Lydian. So Rag Yaman is has the same fourth note. So we're tuned into the major scale, right? So like do re mi, but when we get to fa, we change it and lift it. It's different. That's the secret note in the scale, and so that's the secret note for Rag Yaman, but it's also for Lydian mode because it just wants to go to resolve, and it's so beautiful. It's like there's a secret note, and I've been learning about that with my teacher. Is that there's secret notes in the scales that give it its character and quality, and yeah.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm going to open up the chat. If you have any questions for me or Andrea, hit us up in the chat on Zoom. I don't have Facebook chat up right now, and it feels very daunting to even try. So I'm just going to stick with Zoom right now. We've got quite a few people in here, and yeah, if they have any questions, please hit us up, and I'll make sure Andrea gets the question and can address it. Even if you just want to share like what your experience was listening tonight, we'd love to hear from you guys that showed up, and really appreciate your ears this evening.
One thing I want to ask you, I can't tell if the chat's coming up or not. Is it?
Yeah, oh, sorry, I think I'm the only one that can see it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But Joe says no questions, but many thanks. So thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yay, thank you.
Let me see if I can make these public. Okay, now it's now it's all public, so if anybody pops up with a question, it should show up for everybody. Nora says that was so
Yay.
beautiful. Thank you both.
Thank
Thanks, Nora.
you. Yeah.
Nora's in here every night almost, hanging out with me, just over in the other room, relaxing in bed with her computer, usually, and the cat. So I always appreciate her, having her in the room. I can't wait to do this again with you in person. I had such a fun time coming to Austin, and yeah, I want to see that again in the future.
Yes, let's do it. I feel like, how is this different? Is this something different, the setup you have, than what we had when we played a year ago? Or?
Hey, thanks, Omar. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was going to ask you what I even did when we came there, because I know I was playing with the MIDI Sprout quite a bit, which is now called Plantwave. And and I don't know if I was actually doing brainwave stuff at that point or just doing plant music. I can't remember.
You were doing brainwave stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
This, I don't know what it is, but this felt even more like synchronizing together. I'm not sure why, but
it's just a year has gone by, and I've been doing this every single day, and that's one of the things about neurofeedback is, and a lot of the studies that I read are incredible, because, like, for instance, there was this one with musical students where they took half the class, and well, first they judged everyone. They sat everyone down with musical judges who judged their capabilities, and they marked them down, and then they took half the class and gave them this neurofeedback session, and the other half of the class just got like a placebo version of it. And the class that got the neurofeedback, when they came back to do the judgment of their musical abilities again, was an entire class ahead of their peers, which was only like 3 months had gone by. And so just, it like literally is like a broom going through there and sweeping out all the cobwebs and cleaning it up, and it just functions at a much smoother rate. And I have to say, like, in my own experience, like, yeah, it just feels like everything is much sharper now, and I'm able to, like, weed out things in my soundscapes that I don't like as much very quickly now, instead of finding out months later, like, oh, why was I using that sound for 3 months or something?
Yeah. It was, everything just felt so synchronized, and that what I noticed was the when if I would stay on a chord for a while, like I would stay with the F for a while, but then when I switched to something that was obviously a different chord, I felt like your brain was responding. Like, and I don't know if it was voluntary or if it was like, oh, your brain's recognizing there is a change in the music, and so then the activity shifted. Because that happens when we listen to music. As we process it, though, it can shift brain activity. So I wonder if that was like feedback of what was happening as you were listening.
Yeah, I'd have to say, yeah, I don't know, and especially I love the harp. It's just innately something that I feel a resonance with, and so as you're passing through all those glissandos and arpeggio type of movements, it's, I don't know, it's just something is very stimulating to my brain in general with the harp. And yeah, I remember, you know, when we were doing this as a sound check last week, it was kind of the same thing, where it just felt like everything was lining up a little too perfectly. It was like, wait a second, like, are we synced? Are we synced up or something? So yeah, that excited me right off the bat. I was like, wow, we can collaborate online, and yeah, and there are limitations to this, but it's so great that this is an option for us right now.
Yes, I love that we can do this online. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on with me, and we'll definitely have you back in the future.
Thank you.
This was really pleasurable, and I really hope everyone had a good experience with it. And this will be documented in our Library of Waves and up on Facebook Live for a bit. So if you want to check it out again or pass it on to your friends, definitely do so, and definitely go to mindbodymusiccenter.com and you can check out Andrea's work there. So thanks everybody, and we'll hope to see you out tomorrow night as well. We'll be going over our beta SMR brainwaves tomorrow and learning how to relax our mind during some sound meditation with an easy technique. And looking forward to see you tomorrow. So thank you everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.